Night in the Woods. This was a fun little game to play, though personally I would have done without the Guitar Hero-like sections, but that's me. Night in the Woods is came out in 2017. Single-player adventure game. This is actually the second game I've played on the channel that one of the people that worked on it was Alec Haloka. The other one had been Aquaria. It's an interesting little game designed to work more as a narrative-based game, I would say. I mean, I'm seeing some of what people would say on Wikipedia and that, and reports of what some people have said regarding the game. And it really is more like a coming of age type thing, I would say. It revolves around May Borowski. May is short for Margaret. I do not know why it's short for Margaret. I've always heard Peg was short for Margaret. At least that's due to how I grew up and had an aunt named Margaret, a great aunt named Margaret that everybody called Peg. So, I could be wrong about that. But May has dropped out of college. She's So she basically returns home to her hometown of Possum Springs, which was a bit of a mining town for a time. However, the mines have sort of run dry, and the town is literally struggling to a degree. However, a portion of this game is actually returning home and finding how things have changed. I mean, we have all faced it in one way or the other as we grow. Town changes, town grows, or changes as time passes. However, May returns to a home that has, of course, changed. She's no longer a teenager. She's dropped out of college. And she is staying with her parents. Sort of what family is supposed to do in situations like this. Of course, the town is in a rut. Now she meets up with friends, her friends there, one of which is B, who she's sort of stuck living in the town and sort of taking over the family business. We have her friend Greg, who is hyperactive, not necessarily the most responsible individual. And we have Greg's boyfriend, Angus. We also learn that one friend of May's, Casey, has disappeared. Now, the game does start out sort of more or less exploring. I mean, the more days that pass, the more of the town that opens up to you. And you can talk with individuals in town. You can talk with some of the new era of delinquents in town. You can talk with some of the older residents who may have some interesting stories to tell you. You find out that somebody, the people you're around May's age is a bit of a poet. One of the people in town likes to look for dusk stars. And of course, you're getting chances to reconnect with your friends. Now, of course, as things progress, things also start happening with May. I mean, she's got her own checkered past. But as time progresses, we start having dreams. May starts having dreams, and you can't wake up from these dreams until you find four individuals in the dreams. And eventually, through all this, like reconnecting with friends and, going to places with them, which those all depend on your choices. I mean, myself, I did more stuff with B than I did with Greg in this game when I played it. I mean, we helped B fix a furnace, only to have to damage again so we can get out of the basement we got locked into. Who locks? I mean, how do you forget that you had somebody in the basement or somebody was in your basement working? I mean, that's kind of hard to do, if you ask me. We go with B to a mall, sort of touch base, connect, also bring back some memories from the past. We attend a party, which sort of has a slight impact, running into a May's old boyfriend. However, things really start to take a turn when Harfest comes around, which is sort of the town's Halloween festival. After May helps out at B's store by reenacting or taking part in a town play. that's pretty much done every year. She ends up witnessing a kidnapping. Now, of course, this is, days after, sometime after we actually found an arm in the town. I mean, that was one thing, but now to see another, kidnapping, that's another thing. And we follow the individual, not fully understanding how that they got past. I got through a fence. And of course, we report this to the police. It just happens that the main police officer in town that we talked to is actually May's aunt. And now that she's going to, I mean, she believes this person's a ghost because how can you get through a fence that can't be gotten through? So May is now going on a bit of a ghost hunt, trying to find out things. And you could check things out by going to one of a few certain places, like the old historical building, which has some questionable setup in it. Check out the graveyard. Also, I think one area in the woods. I didn't get to go there. All this to try and figure out something, like who could have done this. And it works out that we do manage to make some headway in finding information that eventually leads us out to the woods. And when we get there, and are also dealing with May's deteriorating mental state because of the dreams, we actually go into the woods and we find a cult of some sort. And of course, there are some problems, even with the cult. Of course, some division in the cult even causes problems, as one tries to, I think one manages to, who, when they chase the group of friends, May falls down a cliff and sort of lapses into a coma. Now, luckily, May is rescued by some churchgoers and eventually wakes up and returns to her friends. Where, throughout all the game's facts of what's going on, we find out, like, admits why she left school, why she dropped out, giving up what B says is something that she would have loved to have had. See, May was basically developing a condition they call depersonalization, where, she was seeing everything as like mere code, shapes. Her journal was given to her to the town doctor to write down her emotions after she bludgeoned a student with a softball bat in a similar episode years prior to the game. I mean, this was an event that became, sort of led to a strain, led to her being, you know, her dissociation making things a little bit worse. College didn't even help that. It got worse for her at college, and she chose to return home and hope that being in a familiar place would basically help her. Sometimes we know the best course of actions for ourselves. Sometimes. But of course, with all this strange goings on, it doesn't necessarily help. And her family understands why she's left home, when she should be recovering to be back with her to go back to her friends. They're people who know what's going on. They can help her. She feels safe around them. But even May says they still need answers. Why was this cult doing what it was doing? May is intending to just, find this for herself. But her friends, being the good friends they are, follow her and refuse to let her go alone. Now they enter the mines and finally confront this cult. And they are what they are doing in part of the lore of the town, which has been misrepresented to the town for many years. They have been sacrificing people who will not be missed. This includes their missing friend Casey to a chthonic entity called the Black Goat, which, let's face it, if you know your Lovecraftian mythos and that is Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 Young, from Niggeroth. Niggeroth? I always feel awkward saying that name, mainly because of how close it sounds to a very bad word. But they do this because they don't want the town to die. They do it. However, the cult is willing to offer them at least for the chance to join. They're pretty certain that they're not going to tell anyone about the cult. Obviously, who would believe them? Who would believe May? And if these people are high up in the town's hierarchy of power and that, they're not. It's like, they wouldn't dare tell. It'd be like an impasse, too. Because they also know that if word got out that, we're kidnapping people to do that, even if they did, especially if it was someone that is actually missed, it's going to be bad for them. Well, even though they as a group let them leave, obviously another one of the members is the one that also left the arm behind to be discovered. He's got to be punished. There is, some of the cultists who don't think they should leave. But of course, now you got four people, and would one of them be missed? Maybe not. Would all of them be missed? It would raise too many questions. Well, one of them still tries to stop them. And the whole kerfuffle causes a fight, and eventually May is saved from this mysterious cultist, but his actions have caused a bit of a cave in to happen in the mines. Everybody's trapped underground. This means only one thing. They gotta somehow get out of there. And even May, once May goes through her another dream type state situation where it seems she is interacting with this chthonic entity, she manages to get free and eventually it allows her to start getting better. They escape, thankfully finding a way to one of their friends who manages also to, quote, blow up the only escape path. And it ends with a bit of an epilogue where we are, you know, interacting with a few people more and then eventually having a recovery, a final band session. They sort of come to the realization that life is going to move on. It's not going to be all roses and sunshine and lollipops. And the best that we can do is take it as it comes to us. Which basically ends the whole situation there. And it basically ends this game. Now, game is definitely a unique experience. Most you can do is interact with things, run and jump around, and using that, explore. Find the town secrets of Possum Springs. Interact with people. Maybe learn something more about who you are. Learn more about what life has what life has done to the town. Find some things from the past of May. Learn some things about her family. This is what the game allows you to do. Learn, interact. It's telling you to tries to point out to you you should embrace what is coming to you, what is coming in life. Because we don't know what's going to come in life to help or hinder us. And that basically sums up the game. I have no doubt that when this game was in development, some of its aesthetic choices might have been affected by things going on in the various people who worked on the game's lives. Halok was basically going through some situations, and the company that published the game and all that tried to basically distance themselves from him on that, which could have also led to the events that eventually, quote, ended up taking ended in the end of his life. But that's speculation on my part. It's a very good and interesting game. It is more an experience as well. I mean, when it was released, it got nominated for several awards in 2017 and 2018, winning like a most fulfilling community funded game award, winning a grand prize at an Independent Games Festival awards, even excelling in narrative, which means its story came across very well. I will admit it's not something everybody can play. I mean, I struggled through the guitar section, the Guitar Hero sections of the game, because those are not a strong point for me. But it's definitely something that if you've gone off to college, made your way through, didn't make your way through, somehow you can relate to this to the main characters of this game, regardless of the fact that this is in a world where everybody's an animal. May's a cat, B's a gator, Angus is a bear, and Greg is like a fox or something. The characters go through their lives just like anybody else. Listen to some conversations. You hear people talk about, switching jobs and that. Talking about how life is and like your town is aging, which is a problem, every town that goes through it. Small towns, when people either, grow and move out or stay, it's a simple, honest to God fact. Life changes. They say the only constants in life are death and taxes. Now, change. That's another constant in life. Everything changes. And in ways, it stays the same. This is the truth. I will admit that even when I now look at things in the world and think like, I remember when this was like this. I mean, I can look at several areas in the part of the world where I grew up, and I'm like, I remember when this was this way. I remember when this was this way. I remember when a certain building was here and was this. Or I remember when a certain building stopped at a certain point. Let's face it, our world changes. It may stay the same in some ways. And this is why one of the brilliant things about Night in the Woods. It captures that sense, just as it's happening to somebody who is just starting on the starting adult path of life, regardless if you've finished college or not. Is this game for everybody? No, it's not for everybody. But it's definitely something I think everybody should maybe play once. What you get is all dependent on who you interact with. I mean, you may find situations, you're playing the game in such a way that it's invoking thoughts in you of, well, this was like this in the past in your own area. And it is available for a lot of systems. I would definitely recommend getting it, playing it, experiencing it. And that's all I'm going to say about Night in the Woods. I hope you enjoyed listening, and I hope you take care all. Bye.